Alright, says we're live. We're going to try this again. Tried it from my phone earlier and it just wasn't working. So I'm on the old laptop. Obviously, you can see that I'm not where I normally am. And you got to forgive the lighting here because, yeah. So happy Friday, everybody. I believe it is going on 10:30 back east. I am out in the desert. We're going to get started here shortly. I'll wait to see if anybody jumps on. Probably about an hour late, but whatever. If if you jump on at any time, leave a comment below. Lots and lots of stuff going on today. This week was probably the most shows that I'm going to have to discuss since I started doing these live feeds every Friday. Just a ton of shows going on, a lot going on this week. But we're going to start this off here in just a minute with a couple of announcements and some events that we have coming up across the country that you guys will probably be interested in. So, but again, I'm going to wait another minute here and see if anybody jumps on. I know it's still early in some cases and late in many others. So, getting a late start, and I apologize for that. All right, I'm gonna get started. First off, happy Friday, everybody. I am down here in Arizona. It's getting ready for graduation week. Down here, the young man is graduating high school next week, so it's a very exciting time on a personal note. And on a personal note, we had the school put on a father-son ridge run last night and then did a cowboy dinner for all the fathers and sons and whatnot. So that was a great turnout. Had a great time. I'm very blessed. All right, listen, we're going to get this party started. Happy Friday. It's Friday. It's time for your HMG Weekly Wrap Up. And I want to start off with a couple of events that are coming up first. First and foremost, this is for really anybody that supports veterans. If you are in the Tennessee area, go check out the All In for Vets Casino Night. It's going to be happening June 5th. Fellow veteran and VFW comrade Chris Robinette is paying for half of your ticket to the Casino Night charity event, which is June 5th at the D1 in Cool Springs. This is and use offer vets. Now I will post like I do every week after this. I will post the Eventbrite link where you can find this. But it's going to be, again, it's the All Vets in Casino Night, June 5th. It's at the D1 Training, Cool Springs, which is 7115 South Springs Drive in Franklin, Tennessee. That is June 5th. So if you're going to be out in the Franklin, Tennessee area on June 5th, go get your tickets. The link will be below. Actually, you know what? I'm going to try to do this while I'm doing this this week. So, I had mentioned earlier that there are just a ton of shows that happen this week, and yeah, it's really rather amazing. We have a bunch of shows that kicked off content for you this week, so we're going to get this thing started. I'm going to start off with the Carry On podcast. Carry On podcast this week has guest Joseph Chenelly. He is part of the Rolling to Remember with AMVETS. You may have remembered Rolling Thunder that used to happen in D.C. every year over Memorial weekend. They stopped doing that, so Rolling to Remember is the new one. That's what's putting it on, and he comes on to talk about what to expect if you come into D.C. for Rolling to Remember event. All you motorcycle enthusiasts out there, come check it out. It's something to see, that's for sure. So that's this week's the Carry On podcast. Next up, we have the Decision Hour with yours truly. Strong. I got to put a warning on this. There's strong adult language on this one. This is not one that you wait till the kids go to bed or put the earbuds in, especially if you're at work. This week, the question is what is midlife craving? What does that mean? Well, this week I sat down with my friend Adrienne Hollister, who is the host of the Midlife Craving podcast. She's redefining midlife and talking really anything and everything. Adrienne's not afraid. She's not afraid to talk about anything: relationships, dating, single parenting, addictions, sex, particularly sex. She's not afraid to talk about any of it, and she really doesn't hold back on any of her shows. She's kind of become famous lately with her Just a Tip segment that she does on Tuesdays. So it's a really interesting conversation. It's not like anything that we've had on Decision Hour before. Ultimately, she's helping she's helping relationships, and she went from like several hundred followers to literally like 75,000 followers almost overnight. It was within a 24-hour period. It was just by some of the segments that she put on TikTok and whatnot. So check that out. That's this week's The Decision Hour. Again, if you come on, jump on, say hello. Let me know you guys jumped on. All right, next up we have the MSEC podcast, brought to you in part by our friends over at Military Child Education Coalition. Go check them out. This week, School Quest has the tools that gave military kid Haven the ability to plan ahead with the college selection process, and her mom Tara with being proactive at solving problems and keeping paperwork organized for the kids before they're moving into college. Listen, I can tell you from experience, because I'm going through this right now, this is a great tool that they have. Go check it out. If you have kids that are and a lot of friends that I know I went to high school with, we got our kids graduating high school right now and moving on into that next phase of their life, going to college or whatnot. Things kind of get lost in the shuffle. Same thing with like military kids, particularly military kids. If they're moving and whatnot, you want all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff to do with college, so you want all that stuff put together so you don't lose it. So go check that out. That's this week's MSEC podcast. Next up, Get in the Flow. Get in the Flow. Kaylin is back, and she shares her tips on how to increase your social media engagements organically. The amount of time that we have to capture attention gets less and less. And this podcast that she does, Get in the Flow, will cover the tips that have been working since 2009 and have never really gone out of style. So check that out. That's this week's Get in the Flow. All right, next up we got the Ubaldi reports. Ubaldi reports this week. They got one topic. They're talking about the pipeline and Israel. We're talking about the pipeline and Israel. This is another great segment. Check that out. That's the Ubaldi reports. Next up we have, let me see here. Next up we got Time to Shine a Day with our buddy Scott Ferguson. A couple shows popped out this week, and one of the topics was if you make it about others, life will be much easier. And the other topic was walk in other people's shoes. You really do get a different perspective on life. This one here was the most recent one. I think this one came out yesterday, and this one was something else. And the walk in other people's shoes. It's an actual podcast. I forget the name, the guest's name, but check that out. Great episodes this week from Time to Shine Today. So go check that out. Time to Shine Today with Scott Ferguson. Next up, we're gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna keep it moving. Is not everybody's on, so I'm just gonna keep this moving. The Power of Investing in People podcast with our gal Shay Sparks. This week, from leadership professor to adventure navigator, Lynn shares his heartfelt stories of learning how to live a life of adventure on a hero's journey of cycling across the United States, and now he's taking groups to cycle across Europe. You will hear the magic in his words as he shares his own journey of how the open road is home to him. This is a really cool episode, very inspirational. So check that out. That's this week's The Power of Investing in People podcast. All right, next up, we'll keep this going. Where was it? Oh, okay, here we go. I can't get my... there we go. All right, next up we got the Military Millionaire podcast. How to start investing in multifamily real estate from overseas. Oh yeah, you heard that right. Your hosts David and Alex this week talk with guests Michael and Susie as they talk about overseas investing and the importance of aligning with the right people and team. Tune in as Michael and Susie explain the systems and processes they have built that allow them to manage multifamily investments even when they're stationed abroad. So check that out. That's this week's The Military Millionaire podcast. Also with them, if you're not following From Military to Millionaire on social media, go check that out. That's From Military to Millionaire. David just had a book that came out. It's a great book. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you're looking to do any type of real estate investing or whatnot, this is a book that you must have and a podcast that you should be following. So check it out, please. Listen, if you jump on, say hello. Let me know you guys are out there. Next up, we got the Arms Room. The Arms Room this week, they're discussing successes and failures with training and learning as a couple. So if you're a family, family that shoots together stays together. Check this out. This was a really great episode. Their shows come out every Monday. Every Monday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. All right, we got a couple more shows and some newer shows at that. Next up, we have Freedom's Voice podcast. They're back this week after a few weeks of being out, and Freedom's Voice podcast is back, and they talk with Dr. Simone Gold. I'm going to leave it at that. If you're not sure who Dr. Simone Gold is, check it out. Dr. Simone Gold. That's this week's Freedom Voice podcast. All right, next up we have the S3 Sports Show. JD is back after battling with COVID. JD returns behind the mic. He's talking, and it's just in time because the NBA and the NHL playoffs are going on right now. Also, if you didn't know, Tom Brady is playing in New England this year. And if you haven't figured out already, JD loves New England sports. He's a huge Patriots fan. So this week, he gives his thoughts on the Patriots and the Cardinals schedule, which game he's kind of looking at and what he's looking for. Also, he talks the NBA playoff play-in tournament and what expectations are for the Celtics and the Suns, in the playoffs. All that plus NHL and MLB updates, NASCAR, and the latest on the Arizona sports betting. That's reason down here. So check that out. That's this week's the S3 Sports Show. Also this week, the Motivated Mindset, also hosted by JD. He does a double whammy here. JD jumps on with a motivated mindset and is discussing raise your standards in life. People always kind of complaining about their life, but they don't want to do anything to change it. Well, it's because your standards are low. If you want to change your life, raise your standards. Plain and simple, right? All right, next up, we got a couple more here. Next up, we have Not Your Average Operator. This week, how do you access your most productive state? So how do you achieve the best in other areas? The areas where you have to grind away and the success is anything but effortless, right? Well, take a listen this week as the guys go over tips and the process that they have used to create flow states that have resulted in them accomplishing results in areas outside of their natural strong unit. So go check that out. That's this week's Not Your Average Operator. Next up, and last for this week's shows updates, we have Veterans Unite with the People's Patriot Project. Got their 6 at 6 always on Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Check that out. And a few more things that's coming. The People's Patriot Project is going to have their own show here pretty soon. We also, there's a rumor going around that we got a new show coming here very, very soon called The Dose of Did You Know, devoted to a soldier. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to leave a link to that because we have the show page up. Check it out. See who it is. You're going to love it. I want to thank all of our sponsors this week. Short Mountain Distillery, My Tax Fella, HMG Beverage, Attica Systems. My mind just drew a blank. JB Auto Clothiers, Rick's Roasters, First Amendment Praetorian. Listen, we couldn't be here with you guys if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you. Thank you to all the shows. Go check out all the shows and everything that we have going on. Excuse me, over at heroesmediagroup.com. You got to forgive me, like I said last night. Campfire smoke. So anyway, that's it. If any of you watch this video later today, leave a comment in the sections below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. Have a very blessed week.